All right, and welcome to the Lanyap Show. It is Friday, April 16th, 2021. I am John. I got my dad on the line, and I got a little stand in for him here in the bottom frame. Since he's not here to be in person, I got the Incredible Hulk um, plush stuffed animal Incredible Hulk here in the seat in your chair.
Uh-huh.
Kelly was not able to make it tonight. He may join us later on. I doubt it, but if he catches a wild hair, he may join us later on this evening to, uh, you know, join in the discussion. But we're going to talk about current events, I think, tonight. By the way, the Lanyap Show. Lanyap means a little something extra. This show is absolutely free. We have no sponsors. We make no money doing this. It's just all for fun. Like to do this on Friday nights, hang out with my friends and family, and doing this. It is the live video is exclusively on my personal Facebook page. As things progress, maybe that will change. I know other alt tech sites, which now they want to go by the name New Tech, because alt tech, it's almost like it's got like a bad connotation. They want to go with New Tech, and so they can bury stuff like YouTube. And anyways, when they get this type of live video capabilities, we'll do our shows live there. Until then, I'm going to do it live on my personal Facebook page and continue to branch out. But the recorded video will be shared on BitChute. It will be shared on Minds as well as Rumble. And sometimes it makes it to YouTube. YouTube is not reliable. Really, they are only promoting their priority creators. So people like me and pretty much anybody else. If you're not getting paid by YouTube to make anything, you're totally getting demoted. You're not going to show up in the searches hardly ever, even though if you type the exact name of the video, so don't worry about it. All the audio versions of this episode available in pretty much every podcast format that you can get. Podomatic.com is where it generates from. I salute Podomatic.com. I've been using them for a long time. As far as the rest of them, it just exports it to Spotify and to Apple iTunes and the Google Play Store and all of that. So welcome in to the show. I've seen we got a couple of viewers joining us tonight, and of course Facebook always does this weird deal where all of a sudden I lose whatever whatever we got just so far into the show. But anyways, we do have the live chat, so if you want to join in, you can go ahead and do that and steer the conversation whichever way you would like to. But we're going to get started here. What's up, man?
Oh, not much. Trying not to mildew.
Mildew?
Yeah, with all that rain.
Oh,
Can't
man,
dry
it's
up.
bad. It is bad. It has been nonstop. I mean, I haven't seen the full sun, like, peeking out behind the clouds, like the full sun, in days, man, since at least maybe Monday. Anytime it's daytime, the clouds
Yeah.
have it covered, just rains all day. I have been woken up the last 3 nights in a row at like 3 o'clock hour, 4 o'clock hour by thunderstorms and lightning strikes that are so incredibly loud. Night before last, I had one I could have swore it struck one of my trees in my backyard. It was that loud. It's been terrible.
Wow. And the boys sleep through that?
Yeah, believe it or not, my youngest stays up so late that he's really passed out by that time. I mean, he's just going to bed almost. And my oldest, when he sleeps, man, he sleeps hard. It's hard to wake him up. Even just his little nap, sometimes he falls asleep in the car ride home, and man,
Yeah.
it takes an act of Congress to wake that kid up.
Wow.
Yes, indeed. Oh, Let me get settled here. I'm doing a regular Jim Beam, like the white label Jim Beam and Coke Zero tonight, trying to cut back on some of the calories. I don't have time to exercise anymore. I mean, I'm getting in like 1-2 workouts a week. Not enough to do anything, so I got to include diet in that, and we'll go with a little Coke Zero. I'm a little bit ashamed to say that I bought Coke Zero. I should have just went with Diet Dr. Pepper. I forgot about the whole Coke thing and how I'm not supposed to buy Coke products, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you bought Coke products recently?
Nope.
Now, Sprite does count as Coke. Coke owns Sprite.
Yep. 7-Up.
Mm-hmm. So I didn't, I totally forgot. I spaced out. I got Coke Zero. I'm not going to let it go to waste. But I am, for the most part, not supporting Coke. I'm not supporting Delta Airlines, which I haven't flown in forever, and I don't plan to anytime soon. But, okay, so what we're talking about has to do with multiple things, but including the voter laws in Georgia that they recently passed. And depending on what side of the aisle you're on, they'll call it voter restriction or just voter security. And, I mean, if securing voting when you require an ID, I think requiring an ID to me means that is securing the election. For some people, requiring an ID means voting restrictions. But anyways, they had like 100 different companies. The CEOs got together on a Zoom call. And believe it or not, one of them was the CEO of Home Depot, or at least like the major owner, and the owner of the Atlanta Falcons. Arthur Blank was on that phone call. I didn't need any more of an excuse to boycott anything Arthur Blank and to hate Arthur Blank, but that just took it to another level.
Yeah. So, I don't know. They don't have any argument to me. I don't know what they're arguing about. Yeah, you need to know. You need ID to vote. It should be. I mean, otherwise, I can go vote 1,000 times. If I don't have to show my ID, I can go to every poll there is in the state and vote. You don't have to show your ID. You don't have to show proof of residence. Nothing. Oh God.
Here's the argument. The argument is that black people and minorities are too far behind the curve to be able to obtain an ID. They're incapable. They're not smart enough. They don't have internet access. They don't know how to work the internet. They do not know and are incapable of being able to get an ID. What do you think of that?
I think that's a bunch of crap. Because I don't care if it's black, white, Mexican, or whatever, they can get an ID. I mean, come on, they get a Social Security card.
This video looks so funny because I got you as the Hulk and in the thing, and I do the close up on you while you're talking. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if you don't get a Social Security card, guess what? You're not getting food stamps.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You're not getting any government help.
You need an ID.
You gotta have a Social Security number, or you have to be I mean, you can get other help. You have to get help from being an immigrant.
Let's be honest here. You need an ID to be able to get a job. You need to be able to identify yourself to get a job.
How many jobs is not going to do a background check on you?
None worthwhile. They're not going to do a background check on you.
Or they can't do a background check.
No, it's only the ones that hire the illegal immigrants that don't do that.
Well, they're not doing it because they know. I mean, you know. But
Well, like I said, number one, if you're going to have a job in this country, you're going to have an ID. Okay? Number two,
Yeah.
if you don't have a job in this country, you collect an unemployment, you need an ID. If you're going to collect welfare, you need an ID. If you're
Yeah.
going to drive, you need an ID. If you're going to
Right.
buy liquor, if you're going to get tickets at the will call, you need an ID. If you're going to pick up your kid from school, you're going to need an ID. All of these things require an ID. Tell me
Right.
what person, how many people in this country don't do any of that stuff and they don't have an ID? And they don't know how to
I don't know.
obtain one.
There's a lot of schools today. There's more schools that require an ID than not. Because if you could go look at the school records and you see the child, I guarantee there's a picture on there.
I
I
mean,
mean, some high schools, yeah, they have to have an ID on it. But I'm just saying, they all have IDs.
I really, let me tweak the
There's
audio
no
settings
excuse
here
for
for
it.
a second.
I mean, to me, they have no argument. I mean, that's so far from reality that nobody can get an ID. Some people can't. The only reason they can't is probably because they're illegal.
Well, it's racist. I mean, to me, that sounds racist. When you tell me a minority cannot get an ID, they're totally incapable, or they don't have access to the internet, or they just don't know how to use the internet. I mean, at that point, that's racist. That's racist as shit.
Yeah.
Every person I know, regardless of skin color, regardless of whatever, I don't know
Right.
anybody at this point in my life that doesn't have access to the internet, that don't know what they're doing. I mean, even my grandmother, I don't know, she's got to be almost 90, about 90 now. I mean, she's got Facebook.
Yeah.
I don't know any, and she's got an ID. I can understand if, okay, let me put it to you this way. Let's really beat this down. If how often do we have elections? Number one. At least
usually it's every 4 years. I mean,
for a presidential election.
Well, president and then like your mayors and all. You have elections every year. That's for sure. But I mean, it's not everything that comes up for election.
Even if it was.
But you have an election every year.
Even if it was all right, every year. Let's even make it 6 months for this. If you have no ID and you want to vote in the upcoming election, it's 6 months away. If you cannot obtain an ID within 6 months, you have no business voting in that election. You have no business voting. You're incapable. You're totally incompetent. Because even if you're bedridden, and trust me, I respect those people. I believe if they are intelligent enough and they've done their research and they just so happen to be bedridden, 600 pounds, can't get out of bed, it's very unfortunate. Yes, they do deserve to vote. If they've paid attention and they know what they're doing, yes, we do. They should vote, right? But
Right.
they got to have an ID. Well, they can't get it. Okay, well, you know what? Instead of trying to shoot down these bills that just want to protect everything, this is just protection to stop the fraud. If instead of fighting these bills, how about Joe Biden and his administration put together I don't know. They're already spending trillions of dollars on all kinds of things. How about they put together a bill that says we're going to go from West Coast to East Coast, North Coast to the South, and we're going to find every person that doesn't have an ID, that's incapable of getting one. Their friends and they have no friends and family that can't help them out at all, whatever, just totally unable to get an ID, and we're going to use this government program, and we're going to go to all these households. They can write in, or their family members can write, whatever, and we're going to get them a government-issued ID. Put $1 trillion through, however much they think it's going to cost. Well, why don't they do that? And then that way everybody can have an ID, and they can show it for whatever, and then there's no argument.
Let me ask you something.
Why hasn't that ever been proposed? Why hasn't it been proposed?
I don't know. But
I know why.
because
The whole reason that
for it.
yeah, the whole reason that those people really don't exist. I mean, you're talking about a fraction of a fraction. That's not the argument. That's the excuse. That's not the argument. That's not why. The why is they just want people to be able to go from precinct to precinct to precinct and vote over and over and over again all over the place and never have to be verified. That's what they want, because they want to cheat. It's got nothing to do with this fraction of people in this country that don't have an ID. It's got nothing to do with that, because they could get these people's IDs if they wanted to. They don't want to do that.
Hey, let me ask you one question.
Mm-hmm.
They gave out 4 stimulus checks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cashed them checks without ID. Not without a bank account or some kind of identification. Nobody can cash them.
If it went direct deposited into your account, but in order to even have that account set up, you have to have an ID.
You have to have an ID to open that account.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. There was a politician, and I don't know this for sure. Somebody told me this, that there was a politician, maybe in Congress, that was grandstanding, said, my 87-year-old grandmother in, what's the coal mine? Like West Virginia, up there, she doesn't have an ID. And this law would totally discriminate her and not give her a voice and blah, 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 ta. Well, my immediate reaction when he told me that was, well, what the hell's her problem? That's your grandmother. Go help her. You're in freaking Congress. You're a politician. You're totally able. How about you go help her get an ID? Go help her get one. And instead of grandstanding on a law that's supposed to protect the integrity of our voting system, instead of grandstanding on that and trying to shut down bills that will protect things, why don't you just go get her an ID? Help her. Help her.
He said she's 87, you said?
I don't know, something like that. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, right. But don't have an ID, probably, and from what he's saying, probably never had one.
Maybe
then
so.
You're telling me she's never had a job? She's never went to a doctor? She's never went to a hospital?
Most connaît pas, because they take you in the doctor's office too. You need that for the doctor's office too.
Well, yeah. She's never filled any kind of prescription because, you kind of need an ID. They need to know who it's for.
Yeah.
They you know what I'm saying?
I know.
That's too far-fetched. They're crazy.
The amount of people that they're talking about is, like I said, it's a fraction of a fraction. It's a fraction of a fraction.
What they're saying is probably they might have IDs that's not a government issued ID or a legal ID, but if you go to your sheriff department, they'll ID you. I mean, they'll give you an ID. Chauncey got one.
Yeah, I mean, it's an official ID. It doesn't have to be a driver's license.
Right, and they gave them to you at the sheriff department.
And there was some places they call voter ID. It can be an ID just to vote. It's just an ID. Yeah. It's just to say you are who you are. It's not about these people. that they talking about disenfranchising? How many people exist in this country? Again, it's a fraction of a fraction. That's not what it's about. They're just trying to cheat. They don't want people to be verified. They don't want to go through the verification process. They just want people to be able to go and vote in this precinct and that precinct and that precinct and go to the next county or parish and vote in that precinct and that precinct and that precinct and vote 20 times in one day. That's all that they want. I mean, it's there's no other. Their arguments literally make no sense. It is to cheat. That's it. It's to cheat. It's to cheat, and it's to grandstand against the Republicans. It's whatever the Republicans want to do, we got to grandstand against it and say it's racist and this and that. It makes absolutely no sense.
Now, I was watching Newsmax today, and I had it on, and I was doing stuff and just kind of listening. And they brought an old video of tape of Trump talking about something. I'm not even sure what it's all. I don't know why I brought it up, because I'm not sure exactly what it's about. But Trump said, "Oh, it sounds like it's not. That's not right, or it's not real. And the news media had blew it up and all that. And coming to find out today, they're finding out that it was made up. I'm not sure what it was.
No, that's totally true. Look, I'm gonna Google it. Real quick, anybody who's just joining us and wondering why I have the Incredible Hulk with a microphone that I'm talking to, he's just a stand-in for my dad. I wanted to use that new HD camera I got. We got Chad and Kurt watching us tonight, but it's my dad, Joe, and I'm just using
Chad and Kurt.
I'm just using the Incredible Hulk as a stand-in here. Let's go. Let's Google this thing. I know Tim Pool did a video on it, and let's see. Let's go to YouTube, because I know Tim Pool did a video on it. We're gonna search it through YouTube if we can. Gonna switch the dealie over here. It's gonna take a little bit longer to load because we're running such a big process here. 2 cameras and audio and streaming. Let's see. Well, it's taking too long to load the YouTube homepage for my liking. But I know I shared the link on my personal Facebook page. So I'm going to try to look and see if I can get the screenshot. But it was about they were retracting the story. What it had to do with Russia, and they said they were putting bounties on U.S. troops' heads, whatever, and it ended up being totally BS. Yeah. And Trump said it was a hoax, and of course they all laughed at Trump and whatever. And now it turns out, it was a hoax. Trump was right. He was right.
Just made up.
Glenn Greenwald wrote about it. Let's see. You know what? Let me type it in here because this is going to take forever. So, journalists learning they spread a CIA fraud about Russia. Glenn Greenwald. Glenn Greenwald is actually a left-leaning guy. This is from Substack.com. He wrote he started his own left-wing kind of newspaper. He tried to be more in the middle, but he is a left-leaning guy, okay? He's more of a Democrat. Yeah. But when the whole Russiagate went down, it kind of put him a little bit edgy, and then what really happened was when Joe Biden's son, all that stuff came out with the laptop and all this and that, and the government, not on the government, but the mainstream media tried to hush the story, and Glenn Greenwald wanted to write the story, and he tried to have it produced, and his own company, his own media company that he started, were hushing him, and they weren't allowing him to publish. His own company didn't allow him to publish his own story about Hunter Biden. And so he left them. He left his own company and he joined Substack and he started writing. So this is what you're talking about. Journalists learning they spread a CIA fraud about Russia instantly embrace a new one. The most significant Trump-era alliances between corporate outlets and security estate agents whose evidence-free claims they unquestionably disseminate. So this goes on, and you can read about it. That Russia placed bounties on the heads of U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan was one of the most discussed and consequential news stories of 2020. It was also, as it turns out, one of the most baseless, as the intelligence agencies who spread it through their media spokespeople now admit, largely because the tale has fulfilled and outlived its purpose. So, again, Glenn Greenwald, you can read this on Substack. The address is there, folks. He's a real journalist. He might lean left and go towards the Democrats, but they drove him. Now some people want to call him right-wing just because he wants to speak the truth and just say, hey, man, y'all not allowing us to do this. You know, but this is the story you're talking about. It's a huge article. It is well-written, thoroughly researched. This guy is a journalist, okay? He is a journalist, and he's going in and out with the Daily Beast headlines. I think they were one that had to retract. And, I mean, he's got them. He's getting all the screenshots, shock value, bombshell, hostile power, the long war, Russian bounties for killing Americans go back 5 years, ex-Taliban, and blah, 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 and it all ends up being a hoax. Trump was right this whole time. U.S. sanctions confirm Russia-Trump campaign collusion. You know, and he's circling this, and he's just showing how bad and how much the media have lied. That is definitely an article to check out here. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. But there it is. It's on the screen by Glenn Greenwald, a true journalist who can put his political affiliation behind and actually do real journalism. You still there?
Yep, I'm still here, listening.
Okay, you don't breathe hard like Kelly. Everything. I mean, I have Kelly over, and he's all. I'm like, God dang, Kelly.
Yeah.
Why you all breathing in my mic like that, man? Come on, chill out, dude.
But I saw that this morning, and
dude,
I was like, look at this crap.
I mean, but it happens over and over again.
About Hunter Biden. They never investigated him.
Well, there is an FBI investigation. It's just nobody's covering it. Nobody's covering it.
Yeah.
And no, you shouldn't trust the FBI.
Won't. Yeah. Huh?
You shouldn't trust the FBI.
Well, I don't. I used to. But I don't no more.
You should have never trusted them.
Well, you know, I mean, that was like, I mean, the FBI was kind of like, when I grew up, it was kind of like the media. Okay. What they say is, I mean, you write it down. That's what it is. You know, we used to watch the news, and man, when you see something, you see a news story, you could talk about it. You know, you wouldn't get laughed at because that was the news. That was true. Now you can't talk about nothing because then people are going to laugh at you. You really believe that? That ain't, you know.
You know, the FBI was supposed to be temporary.
Yeah.
You know why they were formed?
No.
I'm going through right here. Let's see. Clashes between striking workers and their factory bosses, blah, blah, blah. John Dillinger. It had to kind of do with prohibition.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it started. That was one of the main things. It did go into with anarchism and Marxism, and it was more complicated than that. But essentially, it they were created to kind of go out and bust the gangs that were rum running and moonshining and all that, and it was supposed to be temporary. Yeah, nothing in government's everything. Like that penny tax, they pass a new tax. It's just going to be a penny, to whatever it is, what roads or whatever. We're going to build a new airport, and then when it expires, what happens? They put that shit right back up for renewal.
Yeah,
it never goes away. It never goes away.
No, it won't. No.
And the FBI has never went away. They've served their purpose. And look, George Bush and the CIA, whoo, man. I'm talking about George Bush Sr. And his son's no better, but George Bush Sr. and what they did in those agencies, man, boy, they were corrupt. I didn't like Bill Clinton at all because I can't stomach a Democrat, but man, George Bush, he wasn't all sunshine and roses either, man. He had a lot of corrupt stuff. He did some stuff with the CIA, man. Whew. Yeah.
When you're a lifetime politician, partner, you got some skeletons in your closet.
Was it? He was like a member of Skull and Bones, wasn't it? Skull and Bones. It was like a college fraternity or something.
Yeah.
And they did all kind of crazy. Kelly could tell us about this. Kelly knows a little bit more about this. They did. I don't know if they worship the devil, so to speak, but Skull and Bones. They did some crazy stuff. You had in order to get entered in, like initiated or whatever, you had to go do some crazy stuff. Like I think they went go grave digging, like dug up things in people's graves to, I don't know, crazy stuff.
That's why the Democrats hated Trump, because he wasn't a politician. He was a businessman, and really they tried making trying fabricating stuff against him, but they had nothing. That's just like if you get a lifetime politician becomes president, they're not worried too much if it's Republican or Democrat, because they got so many skeletons that they know about that they can control them. They got the strings. They're just a puppet. And that's why Trump didn't fit the agenda, because they didn't have no strings to pull. That's what a lot of people don't understand.
I think Donald Trump was this rich elite guy. I don't think he was socially awkward, but I don't think he ever fit in. For a while, he has like 20 rap songs where they mention his name, and everybody looked up to him because it's Trump, and they all took pictures with him. But I think he never really fit in with that crowd, and I think it showed, because they all wanted to be around Trump before he became president. But when he was president, they all abandoned him because I don't think he ever really hung out in all of these celebrity circles. I think he was just there for the photo op. I don't think he was really in with everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, here's something I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about some of the gun control stuff, because I got an awesome article pulled up that we're going to look at in just a little bit. But I don't know if you... Okay, do you know who Dan Bongino is? Let's start with that.
Yeah.
You know who Rush was, right? Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
Dan Bongino is going to be the guy to replace Rush Limbaugh.
Yes.
He's getting Rush's spot.
Right.
I think it's a good pick. I think Rush was still more of a politician, even though he wasn't. He wasn't a politician.
Yeah.
But I think he was more softer around the edges. He had his ideas. I'm not saying he didn't have some extreme ideas at some point, or strong ideas at least.
He was more of a salesman.
Yes.
He could sell you on stuff. I mean,
Dan Bongino is more of people like me and other independent creators. He's not necessarily more of an extremist, but he doesn't have any smooth edges. He's rough
Right.
around the edges, and he's
Right.
not going to put polish on anything. He's just going to give it to you. And so I don't know how well it's going to go over. I think he's going to do a fantastic job. I really like Dan Bongino. Some of the audience, Rush's old audience, they may not be ready for something as harsh as Dan Bongino. But if you ever listen to
Right.
Mark Levin, if you listen to Mark Levin, then Dan Bongino ain't going to shock you, because Mark Levin just screams his entire broadcast.
Yeah.
He just screams the whole dang time. I have a few bones to pick with Mark Levin, but for the most part, I respect him, and I think he's right like 90-something% of the time. I mean, he was a Constitution guy under the Ronald Reagan administration, so he knows what the hell he's talking about. Anyways, that said, Dan Bongino has gone on, I think it's Sean Hannity, the last few nights on Fox, and he's debated Geraldo Rivera multiple times throughout the years. But they really started this thing with the whole shooting, and I don't want to get too much into the shooting stuff tonight. But like Dan Bongino was a police officer. He graduated to Secret Service for 2 presidents. He was a Secret Service guy for 2 presidents. And then you got Geraldo Rivera, who's just a reporter, who's saying what these police officers should do in these life or death situations and how they should be trained. And Dan Bongino's like, what are you talking about? You have no experience. I can respect. Everybody deserves, freedom of speech. Everybody deserves to have an opinion about something. We're not going to take away your right to talk about it. But sometimes your opinion can be just wrong, flat out wrong and stupid. Nobody should take Geraldo Rivera, a reporter's opinion about what a police officer should or shouldn't do versus somebody who actually not only served as a police officer, but served in the Secret Service too, who actually has the experience. He called it the Dunning-Kruger effect. And if I can get a graph for you, but go ahead and let me look up this graph real quick. You've served a little bit in a sheriff's posse.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk a little bit about what it's like, at least training in the situation. How do they train you when situations escalate in a life or death situation?
Well, you can have all the training. You can train for 10 years, and then a certain situation come up, and your adrenaline takes over, and that doesn't mean that chances are your training is going to come through, but that doesn't mean you're not going to make any mistakes when you got to make a spur-of-the-moment decision. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
A spur-of-the-moment decision. You got to pull your weapon. So like, for instance, you being shot at. You pull your weapon. You pulling your weapon. That don't mean your finger won't hit the trigger and it goes off and shoots yourself in the leg. No, you train certain ways to do it so this doesn't happen. But you don't know what's going to happen until you're faced with that situation. And every situation is different. So I can't tell you. I can tell you, yes, I can sit there and tell you, okay, the rules say you should do this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
That person should have never did this. But given that person's situation, you don't know what you would do. Your mind, you don't know where your mind's at.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to sound all crazy and stuff, but it's almost I mean, you train not to panic, but I mean, you're doing your best not to panic, but it's a crazy situation that you put in, you know, like this lady. I mean, I understand that this lady that shot this guy, she said taser, taser, taser. You're gonna be tased, which in training tells the other officers be careful because I'm fixing to pull my taser. I'm fixing to tase him.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to get tased. So be careful. Okay. She reaches, she grabs, but okay, your weapon's on one side and your taser's on the other side. The weapon's a lot heavier than the taser. But do you think about that when you just hurrying up and you grab it? I didn't really think her intentions were to grab the taser, and she didn't. She grabbed the gun.
In a matter of
And
seconds.
a matter of seconds, you know, let me tell you something. Let me tell you a little bit what a police officer goes through. Now, I'm talking about, I don't know what the pay is, but you're looking at not much more than minimum wage, okay? This is I mean, people get stopped, they get pissed off with police officers for writing tickets, okay? But you got to understand, this police officer straps on this equipment, kisses his wife and kids every day, going home, going to work, don't know if he's going to come back for about $8 an hour.
Whew.
You know, that's the stress he's under.
$8 an
and
hour.
then you got some yo-yos that's going to argue.
Whoa.
I was only doing 3 miles over the speed limit, not 10. And when you're walking up to a car.
Hey, well, hold on. I got to say, $8 an hour? Really? That's what they paying him?
Oh, a little
or
bit
are you
more
exaggerating?
Than
You exaggerating, or is that
no,
low?
I'm not exaggerating.
Oh.
I might be a little bit off, but not much. That's not what they start at.
Ooh.
I mean,
your life on the line
Google,
every day.
Yes.
For that,
and you gotta. I'm telling you. I mean, you think police officers make money? I remember years ago we were doing signs. And I was joking around with a city policeman. And I said, oh, yeah, all that money you make. And he looked at me and said, you know how much money I make? He said, I make so much money, I qualify for food stamps. But people don't realize that. Underpaid, you got firemen, then you got policemen. That's, they very underpaid.
I'm pulling up here.
I don't know what the starting, but you could probably Google in Louisiana starting police salary average.
Well, I didn't do starting.
Much more.
I didn't do starting. What I did was I Googled average pay for police officer. I didn't do starting.
Okay.
I got 3 different sites giving me 3 different estimates. Salary.com said anywhere from 47,000 to 62,000. Glassdoor said anywhere from 35 to 93. ZipRecruiter said anywhere from 29,000 to 59,000.
Did you say Louisiana?
It's just showing Lafayette.
Yeah. No. Yeah, but Lafayette's got more money. They're going to probably pay their officers more.
Let me look in Louisiana.
They don't make.
Yeah, you're looking at
Louis Evangeline Parish.
29,000. You're looking at less than 30,000 probably starting. Less than 30,000 starting. Yeah, that's to put your life on the line. To put your life on the line, I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it no matter how much you pay me. That's not the job for me, bro. That's not the job for me.
Right.
No way. No way. The only way that would be a job for me is if you give me a machine gun and I can shoot at will and there ain't no charges and I can go home at night and not have to worry about it.
But that's not happening.
That ain't happening.
No.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I ain't crazy. No, let me rephrase it. I ain't stupid. I might be crazy, but I ain't stupid. No. No.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
But, I'm telling you, it's not much more than minimum wage. I'm telling you. That's what they get.
So
starting out.
So I want to show the Dunning-Kruger effect. And I know Dan Bongino did this on his show, okay?
Okay.
But I want to do it again too, because it's a point. I love talking about philosophy and things like that, and what it means. And I don't know if you have it pulled up. I don't, but if you can, and you can, while you talk to me, pull it up on Facebook and look at the video and see the graph that I'm showing. But I'll try to explain it to you too on over the phone. But what happened was Geraldo Rivera said, "Why don't we?" Listen to this, because you're going to think it's insane, okay? But Geraldo Rivera said, why don't we put the gun on the opposite hip of the officer to make them think about it more? Because if they really want to pull the gun out and shoot somebody with a deadly weapon, they have to go across their body and do a cross draw. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't think I have to tell you how absurd a cross draw is. Anybody I'm talking about it like I know. I haven't had any experience with law enforcement. You get into any sort of situation, or what if you're not even going for your weapon yet, and they body tackle you and you go to the ground and stuff? Who has a better chance at your weapon? You know what I mean? Or you got to reach across your body to go grab it, and it's not even holstered right. You got to go opposite with the grip because it's facing a different way. It's an absurd idea. It's an idea from somebody who doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. And I know you're going to check out this video. I just want you to get the image. So the Dunning-Kruger effect essentially means people who don't have a whole lot of knowledge about a topic still have a lot of confidence about that topic because they don't know what they don't know. That makes any sense. They don't know how much they don't know, because they're very ignorant on the topic. So they think they know it all, but they really don't. And then people who know a little bit more about the topic realize that they don't know enough, and so that curve starts to bend. And then people who are experts on it, that know the ins and outs, they are more confident because they know the ins and outs and they're experts. And then again, the middle is people who understand that it's more complicated and they don't have that experience, so they don't know, and so they're not as confident. So what you see is this big U curve. So on the left, this is confidence. This is the confidence scale. And from left to right here, at the bottom of the graph, this is no experience, and this is expert experience. So it starts out with no experience, people who have absolutely no experience whatsoever. They know they don't have any experience. They don't have any confidence. But if they just have a slight amount of experience, they think, oh, I'm so great right here. They really know everything. They know what's going on. Geraldo Rivera is a journalist, and he covered a few stories about policing, so he can do a story on it, right? But he has no experience as a police officer. He's just a journalist, but he covered some of these stories, so he thinks he knows what he's talking about, and he can suggest something, so he's got a ton of confidence. And then as you have more experience in the situation, you realize, oh, wait, there's a whole lot more I don't know. So your confidence goes down along this curve to, I know nothing. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's way more complicated than I thought. And then you become an expert on a topic, and the more expert you become, I'm pretty good, but I know my limitations, and your confidence goes back up. That's the Dunning-Kruger effect. And so I know you got me on speakerphone, so you could check it out. Please, once you check it out, get away from speakerphone again.
Yeah. Well, I'm not on speakerphone no more, but I just looked up the article in 2020. The city council gave the police a raise. They had $11.63 an hour. That's what they were making. Now they're making $15.
Well, that's a big raise. That's a big raise.
That's a big raise. But think of it, $15 an hour.
That should be starting pay. That should be absolute newbie. That should be first year
That
pay.
should be.
That should be
But
first
that's
year
not-
pay.
yeah.
And if they turn out to be good cops, then all of a sudden you get like a $3 raise. At least for the second year. And then after the third year, if they're still a good cop, then you start getting into 20-something territory, then, so forth and so on.
But that,
No. Yeah,
But
that should
that-
be start. But if they turn out to be bad cops, you get rid of it right away. But they should at least start at least 15. At least for, I mean, maybe even the first 6 months before they bump up to 20. When you're putting your life on the line, every shift like that, come on, man. If you're
Well,
a
it's every day.
dispatcher, it's
I mean-
different. If you're a dispatcher, that's different. But if you were on the front
Right.
lines, man, come on now. Come on. And you know what? The police departments with the least amount of funding are the ones that have the most deadliest situations, because it's the least amount of funding. There's not a lot of money going around in that town, which means it's a bad town, a lot of poverty, which means there's way more
Right.
crime and way more deadly crime.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. But, yeah, you don't want to be a police officer.
And, that's what my oldest says he wants to be right now, because he wants to be a superhero and he wants to get rid of bad guys.
Well, that'd be a fireman.
Well, he's gonna change his mind later.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
only 6 years
Yeah.
old, and they always, little kids always say police and firemen. Shit, I think I said priest at that age.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I don't know, man. I want it to be a priest or a pro wrestler. Good Lord.
A priest or a pro wrestler. Yeah.
If I would have took steroid, I wanted to be a pro wrestler, but I didn't like to work out. I didn't mind exercising, but I didn't like to really work out. If I'd have took steroids, I could have put a mask on and been a luchador. Just get a good tan and pretend. Don't speak, and just they don't know I'm not Mexican. Be a luchador.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. I didn't exercise enough, didn't work out enough.
Well, like I said, Geraldo, he's barking up the wrong tree. He don't know what he's talking about.
Exactly. But he thinks he knows because he dabbled a little bit. Because like Dan Bongino said, he went to dinner with a police officer once, and so now he thinks he knows what the job is like. Yeah,
Well,
get out of here.
I tell you what, I promise you I can change his story. In 2 police shifts, let him ride alone with a cop.
At night.
Just,
At night. Do
At
those
night.
night
Oh, yeah.
shifts. Oh, yeah.
Put him in Chicago.
Ooh,
Then they go right
no,
along.
Lord. I don't recommend anybody go to Chicago. Oh, that's another one
But,
they've been lying about. They've been lying about saying the cop shot they said the cop shot an unarmed 13-year-old. He was unarmed. You know for how long? Like 0.8 seconds. He wasn't even unarmed for like a full second when he got shot. They shot him, he was unarmed. How long? 0.8 seconds. Well, shit.
Yeah.
It's ooh, man, the media likes to lie, boy. Ooh, they like to lie.
Oh, yeah. But I saw a program one time, and it was this guy. I don't remember, but he was complaining about policing, and that's what they did. They took him and they let him ride alone. And he changed his story after one shift. He said, I would not do this. The stuff you have to put up with, the patience you have to have,
Well, that was that news reporter. There's been a couple of them. There was 2 different news reporters that went
It
on
might be.
those little shooting things where they brought them through the trials. I can't pull the videos
Yeah.
up. I don't want to get a flag on it or anything. I want to talk a little bit about Facebook flagging me. So if you can remember to ask me about that a little bit later on in the show.
Okay.
But yeah, they brought like this news guy and you pick the situation, you shoot it was a little trial and error, and they would do like this real life thing where they had actors and they'd give them like a fake gun, and you pick when you're gonna fire and when you're not gonna fire, and that guy like failed. He fired at the wrong times and he didn't fire at the wrong time. Like he totally failed. He was like, "You're right. This is way too difficult to judge."
Right.
Certain situations, and they have, and then one of them was like a virtual reality that I watched, where like they were just watching something on a screen, and they still gave him a gun, and he could fire at the screen. And there was one of them like, I remember, he like pow 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 pow, fired off like 8 rounds, right? And they asked him, they were like, "Why did you fire so many?" He's like, "I just wanted to make sure I eliminated the threat." They were like, exactly. You eliminate the threat. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So when they were like, "Oh, they didn't have to shoot him 6 times," they had to eliminate the threat. That's so brutal. They're so evil. They shot him 6 times. They have to eliminate the threat. When you're squeezing off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds, you don't even know how many's hitting them. You have to eliminate the threat.
That one till tomorrow morning, I guess. I mean, that's like a Monday morning quarterback.
But what? Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But let me ask you this: you're in immediate danger, deathly threat. Okay.
Yeah.
How many rounds are you supposed to squeeze off?
Until the threat's eliminated.
Boom. Until the threat's eliminated. That's the exact line.
Yeah.
That's the exact verbiage. That is what you don't just shoot one and see if you missed or not and then wait. And then maybe shoot another one and then wait. No, it's pop, 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 pop. You just unload. You finish it. There's a threat, you finish it. You eliminate it. Period. And when people say, "Well, that's too brutal," blah, 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 blah. No. The police should have an advantage. You shouldn't get the criminals don't have an advantage. Criminals can go and take other people's lives away. Listen to me. Look, I believe in individual freedom. Let me go on my little soapbox rant right here. I believe in individual freedom. When criminals, and I'm talking about murderers, people who put other people's lives in danger and take other people's lives, when they are still capable to do this stuff, you have to eliminate them. I'm not talking about somebody smoking weed. I'm talking about somebody who actively takes people's lives away. You have to eliminate them. I don't care how many bullets you put into them. You finish that threat. I kind of lost my train of thought, or the point I wanted to slam home, and it's not going to be as effective because I lost it. But there's a difference, okay? It's not stealing a candy bar from a store. I believe in people's individual freedoms and their rights and their right to life. And when you take somebody's right to life away from them, that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate sin. That's the ultimate crime. And I don't care what happens to you after that. If you take away somebody's right to live, you forfeit your own right to live. And I don't care how brutal it is. You take away somebody's right, some innocent person's right to live, then you're done for, and I don't care how it happens. I don't care how it happens. They shot him 6 times. Oh, yeah. And you know what? He, shot a pregnant woman. So, you think I care? No.
Yeah.
He's done for. Eliminate the threat.
A lot of these police shootings and stuff could be eliminated if people would just learn the meaning of one word: comply. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
What does all this have in common? What does all these shootings have in common?
They don't comply. They run away. They go back in their vehicle to go grab their gun that's sitting in the the console.
Are they fighting?
Mm-hmm.
They start fighting.
Now, here's the thing, though. A lot of people say, "Oh, comply, comply. You're just a bootlegger for the state or whatever." Man, why are you out here defending murderers and rapists? You're defending criminals. You're defending murderers and rapists. Let's get down to it. Because anybody who has just a simple crime, if they're just smoking weed or something, they ain't doing all that crazy shit. The people that do all that crazy stuff, it's because they don't want to go back to jail. They rather get shot. They rather go to the hospital. They rather overdose and go get taken to the hospital before they go back to jail. That's why they act all crazy. The people that just get busted for smoking weed or they got expired tags and nothing else is wrong. If you just got expired tags and nothing else is wrong, okay? You ain't going. They not running away from the police. They not acting crazy, are they? No, they not acting crazy. They got expired tags. Nothing else is wrong. They not acting crazy. They take their lick. The only people that act crazy like that, they don't, because they know they're going to jail. They're felons. They're already on the run. Chad said, "You need an ID to go to the bar room." So yeah, you need an ID to go to the bar room. Now, there's some people that really shouldn't be voting. You know, a lot of people like to say the restrictions against voting was racist, misogynist, sexist, whatever at the beginning. But you got to understand, those rules were written by the times, okay? They wanted it to be property owners. They wanted to be people with a stake in the country and a stake in the future. They wanted educated people to vote. They wanted people that knew what they were voting for to vote, okay? If this country would have started off right away letting any and everybody vote, we wouldn't even be this country anymore. It would be over. It would have never happened. Yeah. You have to have competent people voting. That's why they started it. And the reason was to get competent people voting. Now, at that time, and I agree it was unfair. There was slavery. I don't agree with that. That was totally unfair. There was misogyny. They did hold women down. I agree. That's totally unfair. But the slaves and the women were not as educated as the men. That's the fact. Do I agree with it? Do I think? No, I don't agree with that. I don't believe that it should have been like that. And I'm not saying that the slaves, whether it's the Irish slaves or the African-American slaves, all of them, as well as the women, I'm not saying that they weren't mentally capable. Let's get this clear. I'm not saying that they were not mentally capable of knowledge, of knowing all this knowledge and being competent. They certainly were. The problem is, at that point in time, they weren't giving that ability. It was just the way the country was. They weren't given the education that they deserved, okay? They were not given the education that they deserved. So they were ignorant people trying to vote. Now, I know it's not that their brain couldn't have comprehended it. They just were never given that knowledge to begin with, and that is why they were held back from voting. As the country progressed and we fought for rights, for African Americans, for Native Americans, for women, as we fought for that, 1848 and the crush in New York State and Elizabeth Cady and all of this, Stanton, and as when we fought for all of this, we were able to give these people, everybody, their rights, because then they were able to get educated, And then they were there now, and they were educated people. It's not that their brain couldn't handle it before. It's just that was the situation. They weren't given that education. Now they have the education. Now we appreciate them and their opinions. So it got back to that. But that's the reason. It's not that our founders were racist or sexist. It's just the rules had to be written according to the way the world worked back then.
Okay, let me share some information with you that you probably don't know. What you're talking about like in the 1800s, probably.
Yeah.
Okay. We share some information to you in the probably 70s. My grandfather,
1970s, right?
Your great grandfather, somewhere around there in the 70s, used to do what they call pulling votes. He'd bring people to the polls to vote because they didn't have a ride. So he would go pick people up and bring them to vote.
They still do that to this day.
Okay, but he would give them a card. And on that card, it had numbers. Who they had to vote for.
No.
These people had no clue who they were voting for or what they were voting for. He would hand them, it was like, I guess it was a group of politicians that would make these cards up, and they would give it to him, and he would bring them. They would pay my grandfather to bring people to the polls.
Yeah, they bus people to the polls. Yeah, they still do that. Like I said, to this day, they bus people to the polls.
But what I'm saying is they would give him, he would give them some cards because he had some new cards. I know, because he'd tell me if I was going to vote, he'd hand me the cards. Well, I'd look at it and I'd vote who I wanted, But they had numbers on that card, the people's voting numbers on who to vote for. So that tells me right there, the people that were voting probably didn't know who to vote for. They just followed whatever he gave them.
Yeah.
And that wasn't 1800s, that was the 1900s,
That still goes on to this day. That still goes on to this day. Probably more so than it did back then.
And sometimes it would, some people would give them a little $5 or $10 to vote.
Yeah.
I'm sure that goes on today too.
Yeah. They get them. Selection fraud. They get them. It happens.
Yeah.
It happens so much, that people try to cover it up. They say, oh, no, that doesn't exist. No, bullshit.
Oh,
wow. Yeah. Wow, that I didn't know that. So which grandfather are you or great-grandfather are you talking about? LB?
LB. Yep.
Oh,
yeah. For years, he'd bring people vote.
He was a Democrat. He was a Democrat or a Republican. But then again, back then, Democrat and Republican could have been a little bit different, too.
It was different back then. They wasn't as crazy as they are now. Yeah, he was Democrat.
But a Democrat back then may have been more of a Republican now, or at least a moderate.
Right. Oh yeah, they wouldn't have put up with the crap that goes on now.
I mean, was he into communism and socialism?
No.
Yeah, I didn't. Oh man, that's interesting, man.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
There's something I learned on Facebook I want to share with the people. I made a soup, okay? And when you make a soup, if you put it in a plastic bowl, guess what happens to the bowl when you go to wash it? It turns orange.
Yeah.
Okay?
It turns orange. If it's a tomato soup, yeah, it turns orange, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
What kind of tangent is this, by the way?
Huh?
What kind of tangent is this, by the way? We're going from election fraud.
And scrub it and rub it, and it still turns orange. It still has a tint of orange.
Uh-huh.
Well, you take a paper towel, tear it in 2 or 3 little pieces, put it in a bowl with some soap, dish thick liquid, put some water in it, stir it around, and it takes all the orange out. Weird. Because you can scrub all you want, the orange ain't coming out. But then if you do what I just told you,
You got to you got to break that grease out. There's like grease in there. You got to break those
yeah, but
compounds.
what I'm saying is you can scrub it all you want, and it's still gonna have that tint of orange. Okay. But the chemical, they say, is the chemicals in the paper towel. Once you see, you can't just put a sheet of paper towel. You got to tear it, and it's like I don't know. The inside of the paper towel counteracts with the soap. I don't know. I'm just telling you, it works.
I don't know, but you did it before, right? And it works.
Oh, I've done it. Yeah, I just did it when I was talking to you.
All right, I got like 4 pieces of Tupperware that I need to try this on. All right, explain it one more time.
Okay. Take a piece of paper towel, like a sheet of paper towel, tear it in 2 or 3 pieces, throw it, like if you have a Tupperware dish, throw it in there, put some soap, dish soap, put some water, put the lid back and shake it, and then take it off.
Put the lid on and shake that.
And shake it.
Okay. And then what you do? That's it.
Yeah.
You don't have to go in and scrub with your hands too?
Nope.
No, come on now. Come on now.
I don't know why it works. But it does.
Son of a gun. All right. I got, like I said, I got like 3 or 4 pieces of Tupperware. I need to do that too. Maybe we can save it. Heated up some ravioli in that. It's fini that. Maybe we can save it. Bring it back from the dead.
Now, I don't know about one that's been going through the dishwasher. I'm telling you, we ate soup tonight, and I just did it. But maybe it'll work on that too.
All right. So we were talking. I had made a statement a little bit earlier,
right,
about how things were in the Constitution.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember what my point was, and I guess it's a lost cause at this point, but there's a different way to look at it. I remember what I said earlier, and I remember thinking about this story, and it's like, oh, yeah, but the Constitution, and I'm going to get to this because I have an article pulled up. The Constitution was written in the 1700s. It was written before the internet. It was written before all of this modern technology. But, people want to throw it away and say, oh, well, those people, they didn't know anything. It was the 1700s. Even a 7-year-old now is smarter than the average person was in the 1700s or whatever, blah, 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 blah. Kind of not true, but okay. I get it. Point taken. But the thing is the Constitution is not written as solidified super specific law. The Constitution was written on principle. So the idea is the same principles that were executed during the Constitution carry on. No matter what the technology is, you still stick to the same principle. Does that make sense? Did I explain that right?
Yep.
All right. I'm going to take us to this this article here. Gun control billboard pop up in Boulder, Colorado, with idiotic message. It's got a picture of the article here and We the People. I'm going to read it. Let's see. This was written by Tom Knighton. Written today at 12:30 Eastern Time. Anti-gun people in this country aren't likely to go away anytime soon. This is to be expected, especially right now, when it seems they figure they have all the momentum and we're mostly sitting here playing defense. Something else that's not likely to go away anytime soon is the idiotic arguments they tend to make to justify their anti-gun push. A prime example comes from the billboards popping up in Boulder, Colorado. The billboards read, let me take a sip of my drink, and then I'll read them to you. Because on the surface, you're going to say, oh my God, they kind of have a little point there. But then we're going to break it down, and they really don't. It's just fucking stupid. Pardon my French. So the billboards say this. Imagine highways using traffic laws written in 1791. Imagine radio, television, and the internet governed by regulations written in 1791. Imagine limiting yourself to medical care available in 1791. The Second Amendment, thou shalt not be infringed, was written in 1791. Thoughts and prayers are not enough, is what they say. Well, that's it. The dumbest crap I'm likely to read today, and considering what I do for a living, that's saying something. See, the problem here is that they're really not grasping the difference between these examples and the Second Amendment. Driving, for example, is classified as a privilege, not a right. Radio and television are regulated in part to prevent two different stations from trying to use the same frequency for their broadcasts. There's no law limiting medical care either in 1791 or today. In every case, they're comparing a protected right to something that has absolutely nothing to do with rights. So let's compare apples to apples for a moment. The First Amendment was written in 1791 as well. Despite that, people can still use the radio, television, and internet to criticize the government, advance their religious faith, or even talk absolute nonsense by claiming the government is really run by lizard people. The First Amendment holds up quite nicely. Further, the Fourth Amendment, also written in 1791, protects you from the government snooping into your emails or hacking into your computer to pursue your hard drive's contents. See? Rights continue to apply even after the days of the Founding Fathers. The Bill of Rights was constructed to apply in all times to the undreamed of technology we now experience. Again, because they were principles. It was based on principle. It can still apply because it's principle. That includes our right to keep and bear arms. Guns were how our founding fathers won their freedom. They rightly understood it was how we would keep our freedom as well. Honestly, this kind of argument is beyond ridiculous. They sure wouldn't like it if we played the same game with their free speech or their freedom to worship. They wouldn't like it if we use their argument to justify the government simply marching into their home to search for incriminating evidence whenever they wanted. Yet those same arguments were written at the same time as the Second Amendment. If that's a valid argument against the Second Amendment, then it's a valid argument against all of them. Luckily for everyone, it's not a valid argument. It's stupid. Our rights don't contain an expiration date. They're ours by virtue of being living, breathing people. They don't go away because too many years have passed since they were first enshrined, and really they should be thankful that's the case. After all, the way that they blasted President Trump, he could have tried using the same argument to lock up the lot of them, despite the First Amendment. He couldn't, though, because some things are eternal, regardless of whether or not they were written in 1791. Now, let me tell you something somebody told me, or I heard somebody say today. Shit. I may have drank too much. It may have escaped me. I'm not going to let it escape me. Oh, gosh, darn it. It was a really cool point. All right, go ahead. Take up for me for a second here so I can think. You got something to say?
No, not really. I mean, I was listening, but No, I didn't. I mean, I don't see. I didn't. When you first read it, I didn't see where there was that they even had a valid point anywhere.
I remember what it was. Joe Biden said no amendment in the Constitution was absolute. Okay? That's number one. That's number one. That should already be throwing up red flags everywhere, shooting off flares. Hey, there's a problem here. Number two, Joe Biden, in this speech he did when he was trying to promote his gun rights legislation, said that there was never a point in time where anyone could just own a gun, despite what the Constitution said. That there was never a time where anybody could just own a gun. Because slaves weren't allowed to own guns. Imagine if slaves were allowed to own guns. What would have happened if slaves could have guns?
Right. If they could have had guns, I don't know. I guess they could have. There would have been a bunch of people killed, I guess. I don't know.
You think slavery would have been ended a lot sooner? If they would have been allowed to own guns? They would have had to get them.
I don't think so.
But what I'm saying is, should they have not been allowed to own guns? Everybody should be allowed to own them, is what I'm saying. So imagine if the slaves were allowed to own guns. If they were allowed, I understand they probably couldn't have gotten them, is probably what you're thinking, right? Even if they would have been allowed to, they probably wouldn't have been able to get them. But let's just say they would have been able to get them. Should they have not been allowed to own guns?
No, they should have been able to be allowed to own a gun.
We would have finished this slavery bullshit a long time ago.
Yeah. Oh, it wouldn't have. Yeah.
And in that case, I mean, Joe Biden was saying, well, you know, back then people weren't allowed to own guns. Okay, but they should have been the whole time. They should have been. Everybody should be allowed to own a gun. You know, and Tim Pool made this point today, and I want to say it again. Even a 13-year-old should be legally allowed to walk around with a pistol on his hip. People don't understand this. We're talking about the 1800s. When this war was fought, you know how old these soldiers were when they were fighting the Revolutionary War?
Yeah, teenagers, a lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Even, I mean, we're talking about 200 years ago, even just 100 years ago. People were having babies. They were 13, 14, 15 years old having babies. People were owning, they had their own property and everything. They were in their mid-20s, owning their property and running their business in their mid-20s, okay? People in their mid-20s nowadays can't even find a job because they're so freaking pathetic.
Yeah.
Back then, they got it done.
Because they didn't think nobody owed them anything. They thought whatever they had, if they were going to get anything, they had to get it. They had to make it happen.
Yes.
Today, they had the handout. They want everybody to give it to them.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I have no beef. If they wanted to pass a legislation that said 13-year-olds could legally be allowed to carry, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
They can be legally allowed to carry. Again, the Revolutionary War. You want to know what ages these people were fighting the Revolutionary War? The Civil War. You know what ages these people were fighting the Civil War? They weren't in their 40s and 50s. They weren't in their 30s.
It's still like
the
that
generals
in China.
were in their 30s. The generals were in their 30s. It
Yeah.
was the teens and 20s that were fighting this.
China has a young like that. China does soldiers.
Mm. It's look, there's a lot of stuff they do I don't envy because I hate them and I hate communism and I hate socialism and I have no tolerance for any of that crap. But
Well,
there's a lot of stuff that they do where it's almost like I honestly believe they are infiltrating our society with this technology because they have the ability to do so. You know, the NBA doesn't want to talk bad about China because they make so much money from China now. So they got our businesses by the balls. So now they can come in and infiltrate our media, and they can do stuff to demasculinize us. You know what I mean? They can. It's
yeah.
bad. It's toxic masculation. You know, men are bad. Blah 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 blah. So we gotta soften up. All the while, they're running all this stuff. Men are great. Blah blah blah. So they're beefing up all their men, getting a hard mentality. They're building up their army while we're basically segregating ours and slashing it down and having all these little intricate problems.
Yeah.
It's fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth dimensional warfare. We're in a war with China right now. It's not, we're not in the streets shooting at each other. We're talking about fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth dimensional warfare. Look it up. Look up the different dimensions of warfare. We are in war with China. I mean, cyber hacks. That's war. That's a dimension of warfare.
I have a quote from Joe Biden. Maybe you could explain to
Oh,
me.
God. I don't know.
Okay. You ready for it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
You know the thing.
Yeah.
You know the
thing.
the thing.
We
All right. So this morning, I went on a little posting spree on Facebook last night. This morning, I woke up and I had a warning on my account. And if it wasn't for this show, I probably would have gotten totally suspended and kicked off of Facebook today. But because I want to keep doing this show and have the audience right now to do the live show, I'm going to stay on my personal Facebook page and I'll settle down a little bit. But I posted something and I'm going to hold it up to the camera here. I'm not going to pull it up on the screen or whatever. But there's this total cuck, tool bag, pathetic human being who posted on Twitter. By the way, his name is Some Call Me Johnny at Some Call Me John. So it's on Twitter. And he posted a picture of himself wearing over-the-ear headphones for some reason, but I don't see any mic or anything coming down in front of his face. And he's wearing a mask, and he's showing his COVID-19 vaccination card. And he wrote on it, fully vaccinated, but the mask will stay on during sex. I'm showing this to the camera, and you can probably actually see that pretty good the way it's looking to me. Okay?
Yeah.
So he posted that selfie of him, and he said the mask will stay on. He's fully vaccinated, but the mask will stay on during sex. Let me see if I can pull up the Facebook violation on it. Let's see if I can pull it up, because I want to show you the truth. I'm not trying to do anything other than the truth. I want to show you the absolute truth. I want to show you what I posted. I didn't meet the community standards. My post went against it. What I did was I wrote this, and I'll show it to you. I shared that picture. of this pathetic individual, and I wrote, quote, "This mongoloid is going to wear a mask while playing with his fleshlight." That dude ain't he's going to wear a mask during sex. I mean, by sex, he means playing with his fleshlight. I said, y'all look fucking retarded with these stupid vaccination pictures. Y'all are bigger tools than Ron Jeremy's tool. And I'll show you right there. That's my post. This is the Facebook went against community standards. There we are. Right there. So I'm going to hold back because I want to keep this show on Facebook. But I started thinking about ways I could do that. If I want to share some offensive memes that people are going to cry about and bitch and moan about, maybe I should just do them in like 20-second videos. Just show a picture, and instead of writing anything, I can just do an audio comment like this and just say what I want to say and make fun of the picture and just post 20-second videos on Facebook like that and still get the point across. That's my idea. I'm assuming nobody reported me because of that post. Because I had some people like it. I had some people do the laughing emoji. I'm thinking Facebook just had an algorithm that searches for the word mongoloid and seen that I posted on it and they found it offensive. If somebody reported me for this, there's 2 or 3 people I think it could possibly be who were still on my friends list because the other people are kicked off. So if you reported me for this and you so happen to be watching this video, I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to go full screen on this. If you reported me for this and you're watching this video and you didn't like what I posted, I'm giving you that finger, and I'm telling you, you're a fucking weak cuck. You've got no balls. You've got no integrity. And your brain is that of a 4th grader. Grow some balls. Learn how to think deeper than 2 fucking feet. And how to analyze shit. Quit being a fucking 4th grader. And grow up. Or else you're just a really weak individual. But I don't think that happened. I think it's Facebook's algorithms. It just search for the word mongoloid. But anyways, I didn't mean to take it to that deep place, but I really do mean that. And I don't care if you're one. If that happened and it's one of my best friends ever, that's good. Y'all can go fuck yourself. And I really do truly mean that. I really do truly mean that. I'm at the point in my life, and I told my wife this, and she's trying to keep all of my friendships. I want, if any of my friends watch this, I mean my close friends, I'm going to do this tonight. We're going to do this tonight. I'm looking dead at you in the camera. Let me clear my throat and get this out. If you are one of my close friends and we grew up together for a long time, there are some of you. You may know who you are, you may not. There are some of you who I absolutely wouldn't have been friends with for at least like the last 5 or 6 years. My wife, the lovely soul that she is the only reason why we even still have communication. Some of you are pathetic, fucking losers, and morons. And I mean that from my heart, 100%. 100%. I mean it. We may have had some history together, may have done this and that. I don't worry about the past. I don't worry about that. All that matters to me is now what you're doing. And if I feel you are dragging me down or the rest of this country, the rest of this world down, you're a negative force. You are lucky my wife rounds my edges, and allows me to keep being friends with you. And maybe one day you'll get it and it'll work and I'll pull you out. And I mean that 100%. There are some people out there that I absolutely can't stand. That I have to call friends that at this point I think are negative influences, not only in society, but of this entire world. And I'm not a religious person, okay? But I'll talk to you, right? I'm bringing you back into this. I know I just went on my little soapbox for a little while. But,
Yep.
but what would Jesus do if his best personal friend and acquaintance for 30 years or whatever was straight up just walking on side and doing tasks for the devil? What would Jesus do? At some point, I don't know, you got to cut him off is what I'm saying. My wife is incredible for what she's been able to do, because there's a lot of people now that I still communicate with that I would have cut off a long time ago. I don't know. You tell me.
Yep.
You tell me what's the right path. What should I do? Maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe I'm being too harsh.
Well, I mean,
and
not
unforgiving.
everybody's gonna. Everybody doesn't see the same thing the same way. I mean, everything. It's kind of like the Last Supper. Jesus was talking to the apostles, and he told them, he said, one of y'all are going to deny me, and going to deny me 3 times. And he knew who it was, and the disciple knew that what it was, and he did. And like I said, Jesus could have struck him at any time, ended his life, could say, die, you're going to die right now. He knew what he was going to do, and he just overlooked it, and I guess the thing is everybody's got their own opinion, everybody, and sometimes we just got to agree to disagree.
I can agree with that, but there's a point where sometimes people are not educated enough. Sometimes people aren't exposed to enough of the truth.
Right.
And we can disagree on that things, and I believe people should get more informed. Just low information people. The Democrats love low information voters. That's why they want people 15 years old to vote, because they love low information voters. I mean, that's just a matter of fact.
Right.
But there comes a point, and I have to walk this line, and my wife, thankfully, I don't know if I should be thanking her, because maybe I should just be an asshole and call it out like it is. But there's this line where somebody is just ignorant and it's not their fault, and there's this line where they are literally pulling down this country and this society, and they are harmful. And it's just hard for me to communicate, to go on and to continue to maintain some kind of relationship with these people.
Okay, well,
or at least not call them out, and at least not pull them down and tell them to their face that they are harmful to this society, and they're totally out of it. They're totally out of it. I mean, if you're just gonna fellatio the mainstream media, and you really believe all the propaganda they're giving you, you're totally out of it. I understand there's crazy conspiracy theorists on the internet, and you shouldn't believe anything you see on the internet. Obviously, of course.
Right.
But, I mean, if you just take the mainstream media at face value, you're a fucking moron. Period.
Well, people, not everybody's eyes is open. Okay. And then people can look at look at one thing, two different people look at one thing and they see two totally different things. I have friends that, like, I'm not as religious as I used to be, and not as strong as I used to be. But I mean, I have friends that, okay, my religion is a Roman Catholic beliefs. I got friends that's Pentecostal. I've got friends that's Baptist. I got friends that's Apostolic, and some of our beliefs are different. You know, I believe this is how it is here, and the only thing I don't they don't criticize my belief. I don't criticize their belief. And when we visit and when we talk, we just leave religion out of it because I'm not. It's just gonna, I'm just gonna think they're an idiot, and they're gonna probably think I'm an idiot for believing what I believe. So we just stay friends by not discussing that. I mean, and that's just how I go through life. That's there's certain people that you can't have this certain discussions with because, like I said, there's two. They believe just as strong as you do, and you believe they wrong, and they believe you wrong. So just leave that part out of it, and you can still have a good friendship. You just don't.
Is that a friendship worth having though? Is my question.
Uh, it is because I think it is. It's just I know I'm like this. Okay, I'll look at it and a lot of times then I say, well, you just lost, and I'm hoping one day, in my opinion, I'm hoping one day their eyes get open and they see the things I see. I have experienced things in my life that I know if they would have experienced, they would probably believe the same thing I believe because there was no doubt. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But just because I know because I know, I can't open a book and show you the proof. Say, here it is. It's in black and white. I know through my life experience that this is happening. You can think I'm crazy. Like one time, one of my buddies asked me. He said, "Joe, you talk to God?" I said, "All the time." "Joe, God talks to you all the time?" "Well, what he tells you?" I said, "It all depends, you know." But it's the relationship I have to where I feel, maybe when I feel something strong, I feel God telling me this. But that's just me. Other people might not feel that. So, not, they don't come to me and say, "Well, you crazy, you just a holy roly and you crazy." They just say, just let it go. And I'll do the same thing again, you know. Uh, it's like one guy told me one time. He says, "I think you wasting your time because he's an atheist. He don't believe in God. I believe you wasting your time believing in God." And I said, "Well, you know what? If I live my life on earth believing in God and doing good, and I die, and because he told me, he said, there's no heaven, there's no hell." I said, "Well, if I die, there's no heaven and no hell. Well, you know what? I don't have a problem. But," I said, "in the other hand, I said, if you die and you find out there's a heaven and there's a hell, then guess what? You never believed, so where are you going?" I said, "The way I'm living, whether there's a hell, I mean, I ain't got nothing to lose." So maybe the only thing I lost is, well, I could have sinned more in my life and no consequences, I could go do whatever I wanted to do. But I don't know. But and I mean, and that's religion. That's my perspective of it. Now in politics, I got some very close friends of mine that voted for Joe Biden, and I know they did. But when I went to his house, we didn't talk politics. He knew he knew I voted for Trump. I knew he voted for Biden, but we just didn't discuss that
I don't know if I could do that.
because our friendship was, uh, our friendship is more in other ways, other things that we have in common. Politics is something we don't have in common because I believe more Republican than Democrat. He's 100% Democrat. He sees nothing they do is wrong. So I don't even discuss because I don't want to get mad. I don't, I just, hey, in my head, I might think, well, you don't know what you're talking about. You just go ahead, live like you live and be an idiot. You know what I'm saying? But
unless my wife
might
is
be what
there,
I'm
I don't have
thinking.
anybody to cut my tongue like that. I'm not that type of person that just, I will not sit back
no,
in the
but
corner and let them talk. It won't happen with me. I
I
just,
just tell him, look, but the other person's got to realize, okay, the other person, if y'all gonna be friends, the other person's got to realize, that, hey, this is a subject that we don't get on. We don't talk about. We can talk about anything else, but this is a subject where we don't agree on, so we don't bring it up.
well,
We can go fishing, we can go to ball games that we agree on, stuff like that. But
how about
politics
this though?
we don't discuss.
How about this?
What's that?
I don't want to be friends with those people.
Well,
I don't want to.
I mean, there's more.
Or we're
But there's-
friends. We're friends. Listen to me. We're friends because we went to school together for most of our life. But while I was paying attention
Right.
in school, they were passing notes and throwing spitballs and blowing spitballs, sticking to the ceiling and the walls and goofing off while I was fucking learning. They were goofing off. I know what grades. What grades. Look, I'm looking directly into the camera and I'm going full screen because I'm talking with some of the people I went to school with. I know what grades y'all made. I know what y'all did. I was there the whole time. I know what y'all did. Y'all were showing up to drunk to school half the time. Y'all goofed off constantly. Y'all didn't pay attention. Y'all cheated y'all ass through school. Y'all didn't learn shit. Y'all didn't learn anything. I'm looking at you. I'm looking directly into the camera. You didn't learn anything, did you? You know what you did in high school. You know what you did. You know you didn't learn. And now you want to come to me and argue with me about some fucking bullshit that you never learned. But you really think you know now? You think you know now? You didn't learn it in 6th grade. You didn't learn it in 7th grade. I'll be goddamn if we didn't have in our 4th grade. There was like 12 different kinds of propaganda, and it was a freaking test. In 4th grade, we had a test of propaganda techniques, and you had to decide, put the check marks next whether it was a propaganda technique or not. And probably half of y'all failed that damn test. That was with Miss Lisa in 4th grade. I remember it to this day. You know why? Because I fucking learned it, and y'all didn't learn shit. That's why. Y'all didn't learn anything. I'm telling y'all. They didn't learn. We went to the same classes, the same classrooms, but they were worried about BS social crap. You know what? I grew up, I had a hard time socially in high school and everything else. I wasn't the ladies' man. I had a hard time socially. But I learned shit. I learned. They were fucking around being social. You know what they learned? Jack shit. And now we get to this point in this life, and they still want to argue with me. Why are you arguing? Why are you arguing with me? I know what you did. I know your grades. I know your history. You can still go argue with me on Facebook? You remember? Okay, I got you on the line now, right? I got you. It's me and you.
Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago, me and you together were arguing with people on Facebook that I graduated with about the whole kids in cages immigration shit, right?
Yep.
They were crying. They were crying over it. It was a big
Yeah.
fucking deal. They were crying over it. Have they posted anything since? Anything since? It's the worst now, literally, by the numbers. I'm not making this shit up. I'm not blowing it out of proportion. By the numbers, the immigration crisis right now is worse now than it's ever been in the entire history of our fucking country, exponentially worse. You seen any of their Facebook posts about it? Seen any of them
No.
post about it? Any of them?
You
I
know
know
why?
you're friends with them too, because they're friends. We're all friends. We all like each other's Facebook
Right.
page. We're all friends. You know why? Where are they? Where are they? They didn't post a single goddamn
Because they
fucking
don't-
thing about it.
Because they don't see it. Because where they're getting their information at is not presenting it. Okay? They're not going to Newsmax. They're not going to, where they're watching, where they're getting their information at is, mainstream media. And, mainstream media don't show you, they're not going to show you that.
It's not acceptable
Matter of
to
fact,
me.
it's not acceptable. They won't even, Biden, for a long time, didn't even let the media go over there.
Can you believe that?
And
Wouldn't
and
even
when
let
they do
them go.
over there. They limited on what they can show. So,
The congressman,
And
Ted
Trump didn't
Cruz,
put-
went over there and filmed videos, and they were taking his videos down. Big Tech was taking his videos down. They wouldn't let Ted Cruz, a senator, go down there and film videos.
right. But let me give you an example. Okay, you got Lukey and Nate. Okay, it's like arguing with them. Okay, it's like arguing with a kid. Yeah, they might think they know more, but you just arguing with them. It's like, after a while you just let it go, because you know what I'm saying. They don't understand, so you just let it go, and it's basically the same thing. They seeing this false narrative of other newscasters, and that's not even true. That's all made up. And this is their information that they and they're looking at you and say, I can't believe you can't see this. It's all over the news. This is really happening. No, it ain't. This is all made up. But and then because there's very little information out the truth. And so it makes it look like you're a conspiracy theorist because you know the truth. But what I'm getting down to, the main thing is, it's like arguing with a kid that don't have the information you have. You can't argue.
Well,
They have false information.
the difference
And it's
is,
not, you act like you treating it like it's their fault. And in a sense, it is, but in another sense, it ain't their fault because they believe what they see. And it's false, but they're not, they can't tell the reality and what's reality and what's not.
well, maybe I'm a cold-hearted son of a bitch, but if you're in your fucking mid-30s, you should fucking know the difference.
Well, there's
I mean,
people
I hold
older
this.
than that don't.
Well, and then okay, but why should I associate with them? At that point, I
Well,
know, I'm a
mean,
cold-hearted son
that
of a
point
bitch.
is up to you.
Why should I associate
But
with them?
I mean, your relationship can't be based just on politics or
Well,
I
I
know
believe
that's
it. You know
what
what?
you do for a living. You're in the media, but I mean, if that's
What is my
you know.
birthday? What is my birth date?
July the 4th, Independence Day.
Okay. So if my entire heart is devoted to this best goddamn country in the world, which I'm
Right.
my life, everything I live for is a country, and the idea that Thomas Jefferson and the founding fathers had of independence and the individual versus collective. Fuck the collective. The collective never fucking worked. The greatest country
Right.
ever invented. I mean, we took the best of the best fucking philosophies that were out there. Plato can go get fucked. He was retarded. Aristotle was halfway right. We figured it out. I mean, I'm talking about Plato and Aristotle. Yeah, go back and look at their political philosophies. You know what? We learned that in like 6th grade. That was like 6th grade. American history, where we learned the philosophies and how our government was built. You know what? I've graduated a bunch of people that don't fucking know that. My passion is about this country, and they don't feel that way. I just don't. I don't know, man. It's a hard. My life is dedicated towards the truth and to this country, and I have kids. I want this country to work. I want it to be right. I want it to continue to be the best country in the world. If you are not on board, you're an enemy to me, because I have my kids to worry about now, and I want their future. And if you're going around trying to preach no guns for anyone, we're taking all the guns, you're an enemy to me. You're an enemy to me. I don't care if I lived with you since day one and we've been side by side and conjoined twins or whatever. I don't give a fuck about none of that. If you were trying to take the guns away from society, all guns, no guns allowed in the society for this country will fall apart. I gotta look for my kids and my kids' future. We can't be saddling them with debt they can't pay back.
Yeah.
This is my future. This is your lineage. This is your father's lineage. This is your grandfather's lineage that we got to continue. This is ingrained in us in our DNA to procreate and continue our lineage. It's fucking bullshit. I'm not going to let these people stand in our way. I'm not going to let them if you are not for the progression and making this country last, then you're an enemy to me. It's the way I look at it.
I watched that. I forget the name of that guy. Is it Ben Shapiro?
Yeah, Ben Shapiro. Yeah, he
does some speeches.
California lawyer. He's an Orthodox Jew.
A little young guy.
Mm-hmm. And he speaks fast as fuck.
Yeah. Well, there was this girl today. Okay. I saw a little video. The girl was saying that it was about Boy Scouts. They wanted to change the name. We shouldn't have Boy Scouts in there because, and he said, she said something about, how she put that? I don't. He said she said it shouldn't have Boy Scouts name in it. He said, well, why should it say Boy Scouts? He said, why should it only be boys in there? And he said, because it's in the name.
It's in the name, Boy Scouts. Yeah, exactly.
He said, because it's in the name, Boy Scouts. And she said, well, what if you don't associate yourself as a boy? And he said, well, how old are you? And she was probably in her mid-20s. And he said, well, why aren't you 70? And she said, what? Well, why don't you associate as a 70-year-old?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because I'm not 70 years old. I'm 20 years old. He said, well, okay. Well, why? That doesn't make any sense. You could associate yourself as a 70-year-old. Well, but I'm 20-something years old. He got her all over. She didn't know what to say no more.
Well, look, let me say this. Let me talk to you for a second. And I don't know how much of this you know. Me and you are close. We talk about some of this stuff, at least lately in my years now. There was once a point in time in my life where I identified as genderqueer. But I want people immediately to understand that I always identify myself. And my brain is wired as an individualist, not a collectivist. And I identified myself as genderqueer because the argument is by the transgender population that, and the genderqueer population and everything under that umbrella, let me get them all, that biological sex is biological sex, but gender identity is something totally different, right? Gender identity and biological sex is different. And gender identity is a social construct. So there may be some societies in the world where the woman stays at home and she cooks and cleans, and the men go out and they hunt and they work and they provide. There are literally some cultures in this world, in the history of this planet, where the men have stayed home and the women were the hunter-gatherers. It has happened. There have been some tribes that this happens. The idea is that it's socially constructed. What is considered masculine traits, is a social construct. It's not real. What's considered effeminate, feminine traits, are not real. They are stereotypes. You understand what I'm saying? They're stereotypes.
Yep.
Oh, you like to, you're a girl, but you like to play soccer and softball. You're like more like a man, blah, blah, blah. That's a stereotype, right?
Well, they call him a tomboy.
A tomboy, right? So, they're stereotypes. In other words, it's not real. In other words, there's no truth. We have our biological sexes, but gender is just a scale, right? That's what they argue. You're somewhere on the scale. You're more on one side or the other. Sometimes you're right in between. There's a scale of gender according to our social constructs, which means it's fake. It's not biologically real. It's just how our society deals with it. And I totally understand that. Again, sexuality, your sexual, not sexuality, your sex, is your biological sex is what's between your legs. Your gender identity is how you fit into society, okay? That makes perfect sense. It's not the same thing. It's different. What? But wait a minute. Let me go, because I'm going to go hard on this. It is your gender identity is somewhere on a scale. Some people are more masculine, some people are more effeminate, and people fall in between. But it's all based on stereotypes, right?
Yep.
So, if it's all based on stereotypes, if a biological male wants to claim that they're a female, why? What is it based on? Stereotypes.
On the stereotype. Yeah.
I like to bake. I like to cook. Well, guess what? Down in Cajun country, the men cook too. And the men are damn good cooks down in Cajun country.
Yep.
And there's a lot of women that like to go hunting in Cajun country. Yep. And they don't like to munch carpet, but they like to go shoot some squirrels.
Right.
It's okay. So you see, from that aspect, I agree with it. Gender identity is a social construct. It's not 100% either way. So let's say that. So if you are a male and you claim that you're really deep down a female, what is that based on? Stereotypes and social constructs.
Right.
So you want, and aren't stereotypes and these social constructs bigoted? Isn't that what you're trying to tell me, is that this shit is bigoted, right? So you want me to acknowledge your identity based on bigotry. So in order for me to say, yeah, that's right, this biological male is a woman based on these bigoted ideas. That's bigotry. That I have to be a bigot to say, oh yeah, you're right, because you like to bake and you like to cook and you like to wear dresses, so that means you are a woman. That's bigoted as shit.
Yeah.
That's based in stereotypes. So,
let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
Okay. This is what I think it is. I took a course, a personality trait, where you look up your personality trait, and that's basically the same thing. Is it's all about your personality. You know how you build, how you uh, like. Okay, like me, I I don't really care. I do hunt. I don't like to hunt that much. I'd much rather fish. I like football. You know, uh, stuff like that. But um, I like to cook. I like to bake. You know, um, but it's all about your personality, and that's how it should be.
Well, again, like my point, if I am to acknowledge your gender identity and it's based on bigotry, that's bigotry, isn't it? I mean, we're basing it on
Yeah,
stereotypes. How are you basing
right.
your identity? It's on stereotypes. So it's bullshit to begin with. So don't call me a bigot if I don't want to recognize it, because it's
Yeah,
a bigotry to recognize it. Number two, if you are a male or female and you identify as the other sex, why do you need hormone therapy? To make you more of what you already claim to be? If you're a
right.
female and you think you're a male, why do you need a bunch of testosterone? Because you're
You
not male
shouldn't.
enough? Then you're not male enough. You don't need
Right.
more testosterone because you're not male enough. I'm not male enough, but I identify as a male, but I'm not male enough. Oh, then maybe you're not male enough. Maybe that's because you're a woman. Yeah, go ahead, ban
Yeah.
me. Go ahead, ban me. Everybody, y'all put the thumbs down, like, whatever. Y'all don't like facts? You don't like reality? If you have to take something that changes your chemicals in your body to make you something else, I mean, then you weren't that to begin with, were you? Were you?
Nope.
Why do you have to chemically alter yourself? Then you weren't that to begin with. What you have, and you're not wrong. You were talking about kind of like people who fit in uh socially, anti-socially. A lot of this stuff that happens is people. Thank you, babe. My wife is the best ever. She really is. She's incredible. She's all this night. I'm goofing off. I'm having fun, and she's out there watching the kids who are maniacs sometimes, right? And then she's getting me drinks too. She's such an incredible person. She really is. I love her. Love her to death. Um, why? I don't even know where I was going with that. My wife is just great. I don't know. I lost my train of thought. You still there? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, you seem really
Hello?
delayed now. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm there. Hold on.
We just seem a little bit delayed on the feed.
Hey, you hear me?
Yep, I got you clear.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like we were delayed by like 3 or 4 seconds or something. It was weird.
Okay. No, but I think everybody should do a personality trait. I mean, I learned a lot
Hmm.
when I did it. I learned a lot.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Um, there's okay when you don't fit in. Um, that's the balance, right? Because a long time ago, if you really were gay, it was hard to come out. There were a lot of bigots
Yeah.
that would go against you. And
Yeah.
I support real gay people. I support real lesbians. I support real trans people. Don't get me wrong, folks. Everything that I just said before this, Don't get me wrong. I support the real people, okay? But I believe there's a lot of people in our society now because we made it so, not only do we make it so easy and acceptable, which is a good thing. There's nothing wrong. It should be acceptable and it should be celebrated to some point. But we made it so celebrated that there are people who just have some social issues. Maybe they are on the spectrum. You know,
Right.
there are certain issues, just social issues that they may have, even ADHD to some degree, whatever. They have a social issue. And that social issue makes them feel awkward. And they don't know anything yet, and you're still learning. And look, even as a young person, when you get all these hormones start coming up, you start developing, you know, you go through puberty, and you have these intense hormones. You don't know what the hell's going on. You just have all these crazy urges. It's nuts. And if you're socially awkward, you don't know how to handle that. And then you just have these people over here saying, oh, yeah, you're trans. Come here. This is such a great community. You're different, whatever. You just want to be accepted, right? I was a punk in high school. I was a punk. I had mohawks. I had Liberty spikes. I had all kind of different color hair, whatever. I met this chick who I thought was cool. The only girl in the world when I was 16 who showed any interest towards me whatsoever. And you know what? She was a punk rocker. She liked punk stuff. So you know where I went? I followed the toot. So you know what I mean? And that's where I went, right? So if you are so socially awkward and anybody shows you attention, you follow that road. Well, it's so acceptable now to be gay and trans and lesbian and this and that. You may really not be that. You may just be socially awkward and trying to understand things. And you end up in this situation where oh yeah, come over here. You know, it's so great. And you end up being trans. And then when you get to your mid-20s, you're like, oh shit, wait a minute. These people brought me in for some shit, and I'm not really like that, but it's too late. I already chopped off my dick.
Yeah.
You know, or I've been taking all these hormones to make me this way, and I'm not. There have literally been people like that. Like, there are activists that go out and say, hey, look, I got caught up all into this shit too. And there's this guy who literally identifies now as a male. He was born a male. He chopped his shit off, went through all the whole thing, and he's like, I made a big mistake. They tricked me into this. I thought I really was this, and now I realize I wasn't, and it just totally ruined my entire life.
Yeah, well.
I mean, look, when I was chasing girls in college, I grew up, I always had a thing. You remember Point Break? Patrick Swayze, Keanu Reeves. It was the ex-presidents. Yep. They would rob banks, and they were surfers and all this and that.
Right.
The chick in the movie who was, you know, she was supposed to be the chick, right? Like, she was the hot one. She was the actress in there. That was Lori Petty, a real-life lesbian. She had short hair. Her name was Tyler in the video. I thought she was incredible, right? I looked up to her like I thought she was something. To me, she was something. Growing up in that age, and then I ended up going to college, and I was attracted. Every girl I was attracted to ended up being like a lesbian. I was into arts. I was into all, you know, media and art and all of this stuff, and so were all these girls.
Yeah.
And they also happened to be lesbian, because they were into arts too. It's like there's such a cultural thing that if you like X, Y, and Z, you have to be this. And if you like A, B, and C, you have to be that. And like there's no in between. And when we put labels on this stuff and we force ourselves, I think it's bullshit to put labels and to force ourselves into this. I've said this before and I said it again. I'll say it again. Why can't I just be John? I like what I like. I don't like what I don't like. Why can't we just be our own person? Why do we have to label ourselves as straight or gay or lesbian or whatever, everything that falls under the LGBTQ, genderqueer plus label? Why do we have to be any of that? Why
I
can't
don't
we
see
just love who we
none
love?
of those labels.
Why can't we just love who we love? It's all
Yeah.
totally an agenda, and it really isn't a big deal except for the fact that the Democrats use that to get votes. That's the whole
Right.
reason. That's
Yeah.
why. That's why. It's already solved it for it. Solved it for us. It's because the Democrats use it to get votes. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm saying that's how. I mean, to me, you are who you are. So you like what you like. If you're attracted to just males, then if you're attracted to females, then that's what you know. Now the ones that are confused and they don't know who they're attracted to, and then they got a problem.
Man, I just seen something. Okay, and this is a big issue for me. Wow. So I need to this is happening right now. I need to reevaluate my situation. Because we just had this discussion, and I need to reevaluate my situation. If I ever told you, have I ever told, what is my political philosophy? What do I consider myself? Like, I'll literally categorize myself in a certain way. You know what I say I am? Do you know?
Independent.
No. I consider I'm a libertarian, but a small L libertarian.
Yeah.
Not Libertarian Party. That's capital L. I'm not a member of the Libertarian Party. In fact, I think they can go F themselves because they went woke, and I hope they get broke, and I hope they go. I'm happy if they wake up in a gutter somewhere. I am what I call a Jeffersonian libertarian. In other words, if you look up everything that Thomas Jefferson wrote and stood for, and his entire political philosophy of our third president, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he's our third president, Thomas Jefferson. I am over 90, well over 90%, my political opinion is the same as his. Like, I'm almost Thomas Jefferson reincarnate when it comes to political opinions. And there's this thing here. I don't know if this is real or not. This could totally be fake. This could totally be fake news. But someone posted this. This is from Minds.com. Mohawk on the Dartmouth. And this could be fake. This could not even be a Thomas Jefferson quote at all. Okay?
Yeah.
But this is what it says. And if this is true and this is really a Thomas Jefferson quote, then maybe I need to collect myself and do a little thinking. Because it shows a black and white picture of Thomas Jefferson, and it says friendship. Quote, I never considered a difference of opinion in politics, in religion, in philosophy, as a cause for withdrawing from a friend. Thomas Jefferson. So maybe I need to reevaluate that, because earlier I was like, I'm ready to get rid of all my friends. So I don't know, but I don't know if that's really Thomas Jefferson's words. I'm a bit skeptical about that.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's in quotes.
It's not in quotes, but it's a meme. It's a meme. I don't know.
Okay. Well, write it, Google it, and it should tell you that Thomas Jefferson wrote it.
Thomas Jefferson, I'm Googling it right. I never considered a difference. Let's see. Let's see if this is a... Yeah, let's go back to this screen. Did Thomas Jefferson say I never considered a difference of opinion? I never considered a difference of opinion in politics and religion and philosophy as a cause from withdrawing from a friend. Opinions. Let's see. Did he really say this? Political differences can be a legitimate reason to end a friendship. I never considered a difference of opinion in politics and religion and philosophy as a cause for withdrawing from a friend. Thomas Jefferson. Yeah, they keep attributing this quote to him. So
He must have said it.
he must have said it. This may be one of the only reasons, one of the only differences I have with him. I say that, but then again, I'm still friends with all my friends that drive me fucking up the walls and crazy.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. You have to agree to disagree, but don't discuss it.
I don't, but I don't, I want to discuss it. I want to discuss it, and I want to bury you in the conversation. I want to bury you. If you are wrong, look, I believe in reality. God, dog it. I want to discuss it. I don't want to just.
I know. But if you just don't bring it up, then the subject won't. I mean, it's different if you put something, if you write something, and then they come back and then they,
I never considered a difference of
chime in.
I never considered a difference of opinion in politics. Quotation. I never considered a difference of opinion in politics and religion and philosophy as a cause for withdrawing from a friend. Thomas Jefferson to William Hamilton, April 22nd, 1800. In this letter, Jefferson responded to the appearance of neglect which his friend William Hamilton had brought to his attention. Jefferson explained that his failure to call on Hamilton several years earlier was due to a simple accident of circumstances and was not meant as a snub. Quote, I am happy to find you as clear of political antipathies as I am, and am particularly obliged by the frankness of your explanation, Jefferson wrote. I owe it to the opportunity of placing myself justly before you and of assuring you there was no person here to whom I had less disposition of shewing neglect than to yourself. The circumstances of our early acquaintance I have never ever felt as binding me in morality as well as in affection, and there are so many agreeable points in which we are perfect unison that I am at no loss to find a justification of my constant esteem. A longer extract from this letter is available, blah, 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 Jefferson quote. So he said that.
That's what
but
I'm
he
saying.
wrote that to William Hamilton.
You have to have other stuff that y'all have in common. You know what I'm saying?
We grew up in the same podunk town.
Well, and y'all have some of the same friends. And
yeah, I know. It's like, oh my God, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know. I got to be a better person, I guess. But sometimes I got a black heart, man. Sometimes it's,
Yeah, well.
It's just, like I said.
It's all right to have, let me tell you what my mama told me. My mama said chocolate. No, it's all right to have a black heart, but you don't have to show it 24/7. That's what she told me one day.
It's just I want for my kids and I want for this country, and if you're not in line with that, you're an enemy to me. That's just the way I see it.
You got to look at, how many votes Biden got?
A bunch of fake ones. A bunch of fake ones. It's not real.
He did get some real ones. He did get millions of real ones. You know what I'm saying?
I'm blowing raspberries into the mic right now.
Yeah, he did get some. So there is. He does have a following out there.
Yeah.
Even though I don't agree with it, but let's change the subject. I was watching a video today of Drew Brees, and they were showing a lot of his passes. I was always, I don't know why, in the last 2 or 3 years, you even told me that he had a drop off in distance that he could throw the ball. And I really didn't see it till today. when they were showing him
I
throwing the
don't know if I
ball
said
to
that. I don't
Devery
think I was the
Henderson.
one telling you that. I don't think I said that.
Yes, you did tell me that
It was a
that he
slight
couldn't
drop
throw the
off,
ball
but
last far,
no, I
huh?
that was the criticism, but I didn't really believe it. I mean, there was a
Oh, I
look.
thought
I know. I mean, it. Look. It. No. Let me not be dishonest. Let's be real and factual.
you. Okay,
Yes, it did decline. His arm's not as strong as it could have been. But
right.
people were saying that he couldn't throw 15 yards. That was
Throw
bullshit.
15, 20. Yeah, that was
They're
bullshit.
saying he couldn't, like
But
he was
I
like
mean,
Tim Tebow. He couldn't throw 15, 20. No, that's bull fucking
you know,
shit. He
but
could still
they
throw. It
showed
wasn't as long. I mean, he couldn't throw as hard and as perfect as he used to be able to. He's not in his
right,
prime anymore. I get that. But don't say he can't throw 15
right,
yards. He could throw further than 15
right.
yards. Come on now.
Yeah, he could. I mean, he could throw some 20, 25, 30-yard passes that were beautiful. Because I saw that what he did this, they showed like this year and last year, but they showed some young ones. I mean, they showed some at the beginning, like I said, with Devery Henderson. They showed Joe Horn and all that. But I mean, and you could really tell the effort he would put. His arm was a lot stronger. So I mean, even me, because I always thought, well, yeah, maybe he can't do it all game, but he could still chunk that ball. But then, they showed some of the passes uh, of this year and last year. And then, like I said, in the beginning when he first came to New Orleans, he didn't hardly have to put any effort. Now, he would fit the ball like to Marcus Colston. Colston would just go up there and get the ball. But I mean, he still would throw it deep. Uh, but like when we had Joe Horn and Devery Henderson, they were wide open a lot of the time, and he hit them in stride, you know, far. But you could tell, you could watch it, his throwing motion and all that, and you could see very little effort in the beginning when he was younger. Very little effort to throw it 30, 40 yards, you know. And then now it would take him, he had to do a bigger wind up, but the accuracy was still there.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that. I agree with that. Um, but he could still throw further than 15. I mean, that was just bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
The stuff that
Yeah.
they said, he was still better than the other two quarterbacks that we had. I want to take it back to politics one more time, because we were talking about this, and I decided to pull it up. President Joe Biden approval. Okay, we're going to Real Clear Politics, which does an aggregate of all the main polls. Now, understand, I don't think I have to tell anybody that polls are terrible. We already know the last two elections, the polls are way off, and they're
Yeah.
always favored towards the Democrats. They're always
Right.
favored towards the Democrats. So when they're off plus Democrat, right? They're always off in favor of the Democrats. And now these are push polls. These are push polls because they're trying to push Joe Biden ahead. Okay, as of right now, the RCP average of these polls, approval rate is at 52.7. Disapproval is at 41. So he is
See if Mama's sleeping. I'll fix you something. Go ahead.
Joe
listening. Go
Biden.
ahead.
Joe Biden. Hold on. My throat caught me there. Joe Biden is slightly above 50% approval. Slightly above 50% approval. He's at 52.7, okay? They say the disapproval and there's a bunch of in between. That's all bullshit. It really is all bullshit. This is with the push polls, okay? Reuters says he's 54%.
Right.
CNBC says Biden only has an approval rate of 47. NPR says 52. Rasmussen, who I think has been the closest of all, has 49 and 49 at a dead tie. Okay?
Yeah.
The Hill and Harris, that's way off. They give him 61% approval. Quinnipiac, or whatever, how you ever pronounce it, they only have him at 48% approval, only 42% disapproval. There's a bunch of people in these polls that are in the middle that neither approve or disapprove. I think that's bullshit. I think the way they're slandering, the way they're moving that shit, Biden, in my opinion, using this and knowing what I know, okay, if he only has 52.7% approval, and we know they're doing push polls, and we know 8 out of 10, like 80% of these polls are favored towards the Democrats heavily.
Right.
He's totally underwater. He's totally underwater. I mean, these numbers, even YouGov and the economists only have him at 51% approval. I mean, he's underwater. He is underwater because those polls are so heavily favored towards the Democrats. He's, and I showed you the YouTube videos, and they have deleted even more since then of dislikes. I've done this on numerous Lanyap shows of the likes to dislike ratio on the official WhiteHouse.gov YouTube videos. He's not a popular president. I mean, I don't think this guy is trash. He's trash. They are lying to us, and they're trying to force that to us, and I just don't believe it. I don't. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
All right, it's 10 o'clock, and my bladder has told me that it's time to shut it down. It's told me I've had enough, like I'm squirming in my chair now. All right, well, I appreciate you coming on. Kelly did not even contact us. He didn't even want to come on and say he took the night off. Well, that's good. We don't have to have Kelly on every night.
Yeah.
Hope he enjoys his time off. Next weekend, I don't know. Next show, I don't know. We may do it. We may take a Friday night off. I don't know what's going to happen. We will see. But anyways, let me wrap this up real quick. This was recorded live on my own personal Facebook page. The video will be recorded and shared on BitChute, on Rumble, on Minds.com, and the audio podcast on Podomatic.com, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and everywhere else you can get an audio podcast. You can just say, Alexa, play the Lanyap Show podcast, and she'll play the latest episode. It works just like that. It's pretty cool. Everywhere but YouTube. Don't worry about YouTube. Even if we show up there, don't rely on it. So thanks for joining in, man.
All right. Until next time.
Oh, by the way, the boys don't have T-ball games tomorrow. It's totally flooded, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
I was going to get you to come. They have a debris drop tomorrow. I wanted to go drop off the recliner in the barbecue pit, and I don't have a truck bed, and I was going to get you to come over, but it's way too late for me to ask you to do that now. So it's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't feel I'll just go bring it to the dump one day. Yeah, I'll bring it to the dump one day. It's okay. It's not crucial.
Okay. Sounds good.
Have a good night.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
This has been the Lanyap Show. Appreciate everybody for listening. Again, the Lanyap Show, absolutely free. We have no sponsors, no subscriptions necessary, none of that. If you like this content, please like. If you really, really like it, and please share. That's it. It's been the Lanyap Show. Appreciate it, y'all. Love y'all. Good night.